I get excited because that reminds me of Jahmyr Gibbs. He also had more 15-yard runs than any running back in the nation the last 2 seasons, more than Ashton Jeanty. To me, I'm giving this an A. Welcome back to another episode of the Broncos Avenue podcast. I'm your host, Amir Farrell, with my co-host, Evan Petruk, to recap the Denver Broncos 2025 NFL draft class. Very interesting 3 days. I know a lot of Broncos country is either very happy with this draft class or very upset from what it seems like. We're going to dive into every single draft pick. The Broncos capped off their draft with 7 different picks. 4 different trades. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it. Round 1, pick 20, the Broncos selected Texas cornerback JahDae Barron. I know that both of us, Evan and I, were very shocked, to say the least, and some people took that shocking reaction as, oh, we hated this pick. I know someone said that, we despise this pick. That was not the case at all. We explained that during our stream, which, by the way, if anybody joined our 2 live streams, on days 1 and 2, we really do appreciate you joining and hanging out with us, chatting during the NFL draft. It was a blast. And if you guys want to check our reactions out, you can see it in our live section on Broncos Avenue YouTube channel. But I think it's a good pick, man. I think the player himself is a very, very, very good player. Provides elite versatility and depth to the entire secondary. Can play boundary corner, nickel corner, both safety positions. Extremely competitive player, high motor, elite at the line of scrimmage, whether it's rushing the passer or stopping the run. Most importantly, though, he's considered the best corner in the draft by many scouts and analysts. While I did want Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, Matthew Golden out of Texas more, that does not mean that I hate this pick at all. That does not mean that I hate the player. I honestly just hate the Bucs more for taking Egbuka right before the Broncos, which if you guys have been listening to that pod, that was a little fear of mine that Egbuka was going to be taken before the Broncos just because of his high character and whatnot. But, speaking of high character, the Broncos are getting one in JahDae Barron.
Yeah, no, for sure. He won the Thorpe Award playing at Texas. He's, like you said, arguably the best defensive back, easily the best nickel and most versatile defensive piece. Not Travis Hunter, because it's a different kind of versatility there. Yeah. But I personally gave this grade an A. As you saw, I was a little bit shocked at the pick when it happened. It's not a knock against the player. I really did like JahDae Barron coming out of this draft cycle. I think that the problem that people are getting, the misconception, is just the way I reacted. That's just kind of how I am. I react to certain ways and I kind of sit and have to let it marinate in my head. And now that I'm looking at it value wise, it's an A+. You're getting PFF had him ranked 11th, I think, and a lot of other big boards had him higher in the top 10s. So I think that the value wise of this pick at pick 20 is unbelievable. And I think the player you're getting just makes your defense undisputably the best defense in the league. He's 5'11", 195, plays very strong. He's all over the place in the field, very smart player and a great character off the field. That's one of the big things that they were talking about in the post first round presser, how he asked the owner of the Broncos to put the staff on the phone so he could thank each and every one of them for how well they were and how easy they made the draft cycle for him. So I think that just speaks to the kind of person he is. First person he thanked was his mom. Like you can't really go wrong drafting a guy like that.
Yeah, great kid. You mentioned the thing with his mom. That was, I can imagine a very emotional thing for him. Obviously everyone knows, like, you want to, put your parents in the best, like, that's one of your biggest goals in life is put your parents in the best position possible. And for him to, I believe he specifically told Sean Payton and George Payton to please put him on speakerphone so that he can thank the entire Broncos war room for changing not only his life but his mom's life. That shows nothing but selflessness, and that's exactly what we were talking about on the show. You guys, when you mock players, you need to not only look at the film but look at what they're like on like off the field. Do their teammates speak highly of them? Do they get nothing but raving reviews by league executives, like those reports that come out? Like, Broncos are only going to take players like that. The last player that they took that was remotely close to I guess a quote bad person was a Yuma Wazirike, who obviously had off field like what was it, gambling stuff that he
Yeah, it
got
was the
suspended for.
gambling. Him with like Jameson Williams and a bunch of other guys.
Yeah, which he got suspended for, but I don't know if they really saw that coming. I don't know if there's a lot they could have done to see that coming. And then the other one was like Jerry Jeudy, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like pre-draft he was very clean with that as well. So JahDae Barron is a great person off the field and on the field. Like I mentioned, just elite versatility at the position. Jaquan McMillan, though, it's going to be an interesting conversation. Like, will he get traded? Because he was the undisputed starting nickel corner going into this season. He definitely had his concerns last year when the Broncos dealt with injuries. Our defensive backs didn't really step up and help out. I believe like every time Surtain was injured and he was inactive, we lost. So if you want to look at it from that perspective, this is a fantastic pick. I will also agree and say I'm giving this an A for my draft grade. Round 2, pick 60, the Broncos traded back not only once but twice for UCF running back RJ Harvey. Evan definitely reacted a certain way to this pick, which had me in tears if you guys saw the live stream. I think the Broncos, I like the pick. He's bringing an excellent burst to the team, elite speed, ran a 4.4 40 time, but he looks even faster on tape, which is crazy. I know we mentioned that run against Iowa State where he looked like he was running in 2x speed, literally. Insane lateral quickness and change of direction. That is exactly what I want at the position. You look at Jahmyr Gibbs 2 years ago coming out. The lateral quickness and change of direction helps him out so much translate to the NFL. Insane speed. That's exactly what RJ Harvey is bringing. Jahmyr Gibbs is one of my favorite running backs. So, like, him being around that same weight as Jahmyr Gibbs, he's a little bit heavier, and he's like maybe half an inch shorter than Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, this pick gets me so excited. I'm not comparing him to Jahmyr Gibbs, but when I see like the jump cut ability, the quickness, the change of direction, I get excited because that reminds me of Jahmyr Gibbs. He also had more 15-yard runs than any running back in the nation the last 2 seasons, more than Ashton Jeanty. To me, I'm giving this an A. I'm not going to give it an A+ just yet, just because there's still questions of like maybe the Broncos could have gotten him later, but I'm not looking too much into that. I'm just excited we got him.
Yeah, no, I personally, first of all, I'm gonna address this. If you were there in the live, if you've seen the clip, I am a huge Caleb Johnson fan. And so when Caleb Johnson was on the board and we didn't take him, I was upset. Now that I've let this pick marinate a little bit, there's clearly a reason why Sean Payton wanted RJ Harvey over Caleb Johnson, because they were both on the board. I gave this pick a B- just because I think that we could have gotten him later. But the more and more I watch this player, the more and more I like him. The most of my notes are about RJ Harvey because I know that people are going to ask me, oh, you hated this pick. I don't hate RJ Harvey. I hated the fact that we didn't take Caleb Johnson. So let's get that straight before I even get into this. But he's 5'8", 205. If you look at the BMI index, the body mass indicator, I think, or whatever body mass index, he is considered obese. He's not obese, but that's just how crazy. He's literally built like a brick shit house. He's really low to the ground. He runs with a really good pad level. So his contact balance is phenomenal for his size. He's got insane production. He's a real bell cow, really good at wearing down a defense. He's got the stamina to run through the whole defense all game long. He's really good in zone runs. He's probably the third best zone runner in the draft behind Caleb Johnson and Ashton Jeanty. That's kind of where he thrives. One of his kind of knocks on his skill level is the fact that he's not the best man scheme runner, because he sometimes gets a little bit impatient, but he's got good vision. So the patience and the vision are two different things with a running back. So he's got good vision, but in man runs, he kind of doesn't have the best patience when he's going to hit those gaps, so he can't let it develop as much. But one of the best producers in the CFB level at the running back position, even in this class, over the last 2 years. And like Amir said, that Iowa State run, he sometimes he doesn't lack acceleration, but sometimes he's hesitant in his acceleration. But once he's got elite NFL breakaway speed. Sometimes he's hesitant to use it, but man, he can fly. And clearly what Sean Payton's going for is that kind of, That it's super easy to compare it to Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, like that 1-2 punch, right? You got your power back in Audric Estime, and you got your speed back in RJ Harvey. So it's a good change of pace there. And I'm sure how Sean Payton likes to run his backfield is by committee. And I'm sure this is going to turn out in, like I said, with the JahDae Barron pick in 5 months from now, we're going to be looking back at this and saying, why the heck were we even questioning it?
Yeah, we're gonna go through all these draft picks, but spoiler alert, this is my favorite pick. I'm very excited about this pick. I agree. I wanted Caleb Johnson more, but after like after we ended our stream yesterday, like looking at tape, like the game against Arizona, there's I believe a game against Texas Christian, and then a game against Iowa State. Bro, he looks insane. I know I mentioned it so much, but bro, his lateral quickness, like I feel like you don't even have to have like an average offensive line for him to be good, in my opinion. That maybe I'm just extremely high on him, but yeah, I'm giving him an A. Love this pick. The fact that he had more 15-yard runs than Ashton Genty last season is insane. Or not last season, but the last 2 seasons combined is insane.
Yeah, I'm honestly just happy we got a running back, man.
Yeah, I think we can all agree it was definitely going to be a running back around two. It was just a matter of like who was it going to be. After and we forgot to mention this with the JahDae Barron pick. I still will stand by this. I feel like Emeka Egbuka was going to be the pick there at 20 if he fell to the Broncos. And
100%.
even if he was going to be, even if he did fall to us and we picked him, I think running back was still going to be the pick. Running back was always going to be our round 2 pick because you had Omarion Hampton on the board, didn't pick him. You had Travion Henderson at the board at pick 20, didn't pick him, which thank God we didn't. And unfortunately, Quinshon Judkins went very early to the Browns, so they weren't able to get him at 51 or trade up for him. But yeah, I'm very pleased, and most importantly, Sean Payton. They say that they love him and they got him, so I'm excited to see how they're going to use him. We're hearing reports from Luca Evans of the Denver Post right now that they apparently really like Audric Estime still, so he might start the season as a starter. That would be my assumption right now. But moving on to round 3, pick 74, the Broncos selected Illinois wide receiver Pat Bryant. He was ranked the best run blocking receiver in the draft by many analysts. He's a relatively tall receiver, listed at 6'3", 200 pounds. He does move faster for his size on tape. He did run a 4.61 40 time, but I think he runs a little bit faster in game. Only had 1 drop and 78 targets last season. I'm gonna give this a C-, and just in my opinion, this is my lowest grade of the draft out of any player. Wasn't a big fan of not only the pick, but just like the receiver taking him there. I think they reached on him a little bit. I know some people even had him being like a round, like mid round 5 type prospect. So, yeah, I trust Sean Payton in his vision here, and I think he'll be good for us. I just personally would have liked more of like a route running separator type receiver. But I mean, Sean Payton is good at scheming his guys open. I mean, Cortland Sutton has been pretty butt at creating separation, and he still had 1,100 yards last season. So I trust Sean Payton here.
I think this might be our first disagreement on the pod. Pat Bryant is my favorite pick in this draft, I think.
Wow.
Looking at it more and more, I gave it a B just because of, like you said, I think he would have went later. I don't think much later. I don't think where he was getting mocked he would have went. But I just am excited to see how Sean Payton's going to use him. It's the kind of receiver that Sean Payton likes. Think about how bad Lil Jordan Humphrey is and the amount of targets and snaps he got, and now put a better receiver who's better at run blocking. Not as good as after the catch. Like, I'll give Lil Jordan Humphrey that. He could make someone miss after the catch. I don't think Pat Bryant's really got that. But I think we're joking about it in the group chats, talking about how Pat Bryant's going to break Jerry Rice's records. He's going to break Michael Thomas's reception record, just like joking around about it.
Which Sean Payton did compare him to Michael Thomas, which is actually insane.
Yeah, like he was a Senior Bowl standout. He's not a good athlete by any means. Like, he's not an NFL caliber athlete at receiver, but he's very smart and he's good at separating for what he is. Like, when you look at his film, he's like, most of the plays, he's got like multiple yards of separation from the defensive back, whether that's due to defensive scheme or just scheming him open. But he's very creative off his releases. So it really plays to his advantage being a subpar athlete that he has such a good release package, and he's a good route runner for his size.
Mm-hmm.
No, I wouldn't say great route runner, but his release is very good. He's got really strong hands. He's really smart to high point the ball, and he's got elite body control, some of the best body control in this draft. Not up there with like Travis Hunter or anything, but his body control is phenomenal when he's going on the sidelines trying to make those catches. I really recommend you guys do some digging into Pat Bryant because I was kind of shocked at it at first, considering there's a lot of receivers that I had ranked personally higher than Pat Bryant that were on the board at this pick. But I actually, once I've done some more digging on him, I really like this pick, especially knowing how Sean Payton is going to use him and how he is going to utilize his specific skill set. And just the fact that you get a great blocking receiver. Like, you can never complain about someone that could really block unless they drop the ball, which this guy doesn't.
Yeah. I think just overall from like the perspective that Sean Payton wanted him, feels that he could be a good fit. The fact that he was comparing him to Michael Thomas, and just him being like a safe blanket, not dropping many passes like you mentioned, being a good separator for his competition that he was playing. I think it's a solid pick.
One more thing to note, sorry to cut you off. He's shown a rapid increase of production over his past 3 years and improvement as a player. So that's always a good sign when you see rapid productions over 3 years as a starter in the college level. Usually that translates to more development going into the league, and he's only 22 years old, so it's only up from there for him.
That's a big plus right there, 22 years old. Round 3, pick 101, the Broncos traded up for LSU defensive end Sai'vion Jones. I know a lot of people were kind of freaking out at first because they thought it was an edge rusher. But the LSU, they run a 4-3 system, so he's going to be playing defensive end here. I see this as a JFM replacement, John Franklin Myers. Solid run defender, a little raw as a pass rusher, in my opinion, but very versatile. Can play anywhere on the defensive line. You can put him at D tackle, D end. I mean, hell, you can maybe even have him as an edge rusher, even in a 3-4 at times if you want him to, even though he's like 290. I like this pick. This is easily like top 3 favorite picks for me.
Yeah, no, it's a good pick. I gave it a B-. I think that just because we had to trade up to get him, I don't think that the pick is a B-. You kind of got to grade it as well as, like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to grade it as if you had to give up something to get up to this player.
Yeah.
But he's 22 years old. Like you said, people are freaking out that he's going to be playing edge. He's not playing edge. He's right now he's 6'5", 280. I'm assuming that the organization is going to ask him to play at probably 290, 295. He's got 99 percentile hand size at 10-inch hands for the position. And I think he's got like 92 percentile arm length at 33 and a half inches. He's relentless. He is one of those high motor guys who never gives up on the play. Like, chase down tackles, never gives up, gets pancaked, gets back up and makes a tackle kind of thing. That's the kind of guy he is. He brings that energy. He's a great leader. He's got really good depth perception. That's one of his big traits. He doesn't have elite bend, but he's got good bend, and he's better in pass rush than he is in run defense for sure. So I think it's a solid pick, especially backing up JFM, learning behind two of the best 3 technique defensive ends in the league, and John Franklin Myers and Zach Allen.
Yeah, I gave it a B+ personally. I mean, if you are factoring in the trade, yeah, I do think a B probably is more realistic. But the player himself, like that, just that draft pick, I'm giving it a B+. I think he's going to insert very well. It's a very, very, very good scheme fit. So sure. I think he'll be. I'm going to say this towards the end of the season. I think he's going to steal some reps from JFM. Call me crazy. Round 4 pick.
Yeah, if it keeps going like this with the contract talks, I can totally see it.
Definitely. Hey, JFM might not even be on this team by week 1. Come back to this clip. I don't think he will get traded, but you never know. You truly never know, because I still don't know what's going on there.
They got a lot of people to pay.
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to be here after this season unless he has like a freaking JJ Watt type season. Round 4, pick 134, the Broncos selected Alabama outside linebacker Que Robinson. Very fast get off, 6'5". He's now the tallest edge rusher on the Broncos roster. Despite being lean, he still shows some above average explosiveness. Most importantly, as a phenomenal special teamer. Nick Saban even called him one of the better special teams players he's ever coached, which that's insane. If you guys just are even like a casual like football watcher, you know that like Nick Saban, when he says something, he means it, and he's been around the game for a long ass time, considered like the greatest like college football coach of all time. So when he says that about you, that's very high praise. So honestly, at round 4, pick 134, this looks to be a good pick. I just think he's a little bit raw as a player. I'm gonna give it a B grade, but I think it has like A minus potential.
Yeah, no, I gave it a C plus with a potential, depending on how he develops. He's kind of got that tweener build where you don't really know whether to play him on the edge or as an outside linebacker. But like you said, that's the main thing I had written down in my notes was one of the best special teamers in the draft. That's kind of what I think Denver was like getting at. They at least know his floor is a solid special teamer, and his ceiling could be a starting edge rusher or off-ball linebacker. He doesn't have a lot of starting snaps. He only started. This is his first year starting as a edge rusher at Alabama. So he's a good willing tackler, good pound for pound at 6'4", 240. Excuse me, 6'4", 243. He's the good thing about this pick is that his floor is a very solid special teamer. So it's more of a safe pick. That's why I gave it the C plus rating, because you're taking early on day 3, you're taking a special teamer, but I think it has potential depending on, what position he plays and how he develops as a player with such minimal actual playing snaps other than special teams. I think that it could turn into a better pick for sure.
Yeah, now that we're on the topic of day 3 picks, we're starting to get in some of the picks that a lot of Broncos fans are just furious about. And I'm going on Twitter, and a lot of people are super pissed about this draft.
Oh, so many people. Sorry to cut you off
Very
again,
good.
but a lot of people are pissed off because we're not taking Tez Johnson, and they're hating on these picks just because they're mad that we didn't take Tez Johnson. Like, you guys have to understand, these guys get paid millions of dollars by the organization to do this job. I get it. We have a podcast. We like to, do our research. We like to kind of think about what we would do in this situation. At the end of the day, there's a reason why they are the GM and head coach, and we watch football on TV on Sundays. Okay. So I want you to calm down. Don't worry. The pick has already happened. There's no more complaining about Tez Johnson. He's
True.
in Tampa Bay. He's going to do his own thing. All the best to Tez Johnson. I think he's a great dude. It's a cool story. But I will say, when you are hating on picks that are being made on day 3 that are already developmental pieces just because they didn't take the player that you wanted, I think that's very ridiculous to say. And there's a lot of people doing that on Instagram, Twitter, group chats, everything.
Yeah, we called Tez Johnson being a 6th-round pick and not going to the Broncos, by the way. Just throwing that up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I gave Que Robinson B grade. Wasn't the biggest fan of that pick. Just taking edge in general. Like, you guys know, I'm a big fan of Dondre Tillman, especially Jonah Ellis. Bro, I was raving about Jonah Ellis last year, the pick out of Utah. So, like, at the same time, though, like, you always need to be, like, bringing in edge rushers and corners, in my opinion, just for depth purposes. Like, if, knock on wood, something were to happen to Jonathan Cooper or Benito, like, you do have now, like, Que Robinson as a 3rd stringer that can come in and be your new 2nd stringer. So, I mean, it's a solid pick. That's why I'm not giving it like in the C's or anything. Round 6 picked 216. The Broncos take Florida punter Jeremy Crawshaw, which, if you guys watched my first mock draft, I did have the Broncos taking a punter in round 6. Although I didn't have them taking Crawshaw, but I like this pick a lot, man. Big leg. Was it George Payton said they felt was the best punter in the draft. I'm giving this pick my first A+ in probably like quite some time. I don't think I gave last year I gave Bo Nix an A+, but besides that, I don't think I gave any other A+. My closest one was like an A with Jonah Ellis, but this is my first A+. The best punter in the draft, like undisputed. I believe he's like the only punter drafted, but still, like, there's a massive margin between him and like the punter at Alabama and then the rest of the other ones. I have been saying you need to draft a punter. You lost Riley Dixon, who was such an underrated reason for why your special teams was so damn good last year. You lost a lot of your special teams coaches. I felt like this was one of the ones where it made me feel a lot better about special teams going into the 2025 season.
Yeah, I personally gave the pick a B just because of positional value. But getting the best punter in the draft in the 6th round, at the end of the day, positional value at this point, when you could get a key developmental piece, that's why the grade is dropped a bit for me. As obviously you had it an A+. I personally just have it a B, but I'm not trying to diminish the value of the position of punter, especially considering that we have we just had to re-sign a new punter, and we don't really know how he's going to play for us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, mega leg. From what I read, he needs to work on his hang time a little bit. He's getting used to playing NFL football. But you know what, these Aussie punters, man, they're starting to run the league.
Exactly.
They're all over the place, and I don't think it's taking the best punter in the draft in the 6th round who could potentially start for you in his first year. I don't think that's a big problem. It worked out for the Bears last year. I mean, they took him in the 4th round. I think he was a better prospect than Jeremy, but he's a great punter, one of the best in the league already in his rookie year. So I mean, I don't think it's a pick that you could really hate on. I mean, you can get mad about us not picking Tez Johnson all you want, but does Tez Johnson put punt dots within the 5-yard line? I didn't think so.
And since I know there's going to be people in the comments talking about it, I didn't want Tez Johnson solely because after you didn't get a Buka, and I said this during our stream, like after you didn't get a Buka or Golden, just don't take wide receiver at all. That was my take. I do think they did a good job replacing Lil Jordan Humphrey's role with Pat Bryant. Taking Tez Johnson just didn't make a lot of sense because you have a Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin who are your separators, your vertical threats, your deep threats. Like, why take Tez Johnson other than the fact that he's Bo Nix's adopted brother?
Yeah, it's like I saw someone said it. It's like this isn't Disneyland. This is an NFL organization.
It's a business.
Like it's a business at the end of the day. And as much as it would be a cool story to see, like they're not just going to take him because he's Bo Nix's brother. And all the best to Tez. I hope that he succeeds in the league because it's a really cool story being someone as undersized as he is. But I'm not the kind of guy that's going to sit here and hate on draft picks that you don't really care about just because it wasn't Tez Johnson.
Round 7, pick 241, the Broncos had Utah tight end Caleb Lohner. Athletic freak, 6'8", multi-sport athlete, played power forward in basketball for 5 years during college. 2 of them being at Baylor. Only played 1 season of football at Utah. Caught 4 passes for 4 touchdowns. Obviously, a good red zone threat. Could really be something for the Broncos. I mean, it's round 7, like back end of round 7 as well. Thought it was a good pick. I'm giving it an A-, just for where we took him. I personally am huge on taking athletic multi-sport athletes like on day 3. I've always hammered the table for that, and the Broncos did exactly that with tight end here. Although I did say very confidently on the show that they weren't taking a tight end, and Sean Payton, of course, just had to, right before the draft ended, take a tight end. Thanks for that, Sean Payton. But I like the pick, man. I think he could really develop into something for us.
Yeah, I gave it I didn't know whether to give it a B- or C+. I ended up giving it a C+, just solely based on the fact that he has damn near no production playing football. He had 4 receptions for 4 touchdowns, though.
So he is athletic freak, though.
His touchdown to interception ratio is 100%. Every time he touches the football, he's getting a touchdown. Yeah, he is an athletic freak. Usually these basketball players do work out in the league. You got guys like David Njoku, Jimmy Graham, these freak athlete basketball players that just decide they want to play football just because the team needs them.
And they're always tight ends.
And the thing is with this pick is you're taking him on a whim, and I'm grading this right now, but this guy could turn out to be the greatest tight end the league has ever seen. We don't really know. At the end of the day, this guy has no experience playing football, and it could happen. And so as of right now, I gave it a C+ just because he has no experience or production at the collegiate level. But traits wise, he's a freak. And PFF, there's nothing on this guy. NFL didn't even make a scouting report on this guy because he's a 1-year starter, played barely any snaps. But he's just taking a guy off traits. It's no different than when we said talking about Zay Fraser in our last mock draft. Guys were saying, oh, why would you take this guy? Zay Fraser ended up going in the 5th round, by the way, based off of traits. So, I mean, you can come at me all you want, but teams draft these guys based on traits. Look at this guy. He was projected to be undrafted. None of these draft organizations on the internet have any information on this guy because he has nothing, but team will still use a draft pick to draft this player based on traits alone. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it could turn out to be a phenomenal pick, but as of right now, I'm going to give it a C+, I think. Just based off the production.
All right, so complete draft grade. It seems like from every pick that I'm just way higher on every pick than you are. I'm giving the draft as a whole a B+, personally. I think it was a good draft. I do think, like you mentioned, they reached on some players, but they also got fantastic value with players like JahDae Barron. In my opinion, probably like Sai'vion Jones. Maybe you can say that's a reach. Que Robinson, just for his special teams value, I thought was some good value. But I also think they reached on players like Pat Bryant. Maybe RJ Harvey reached on a little bit, but I'm honestly, I don't know. I kind of disagree with that a little bit. I think after watching his tape, I think he was absolutely worth his pick. And yeah, I think Jeremy Crawshaw was another pick that I just really liked. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the B plus overall. I think this class definitely has the potential.
Yeah, I'm gonna end up going with a B minus on it.
I like that.
I think that's my just kind of evening everything out. I'm gonna go with a B minus on it.
All right, so let us know what you guys thought down in the comments below. What was your draft grade? Was there anything that you disagreed or agreed with Evan and I on our draft grades and thoughts on every player the Broncos selected in this draft? But with that being said, we'll see you guys in the next episode breaking down the Broncos 2025 undrafted free agent class. I'm your host, Amir Farrell, with my co-host, Evan Petruk. See you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.